Hello, everyone. I'm Edess, and welcome back to another episode of Around the U. And we're actually in the studio today because we have some very special people joining us back again. It's not their first time here with me, maybe first time in the studio, but not their first time here. We have welcoming back Dr. Jeremy Cohen and Randi Hutchinson. How we doing, guys?
Great. We're so happy to be back. Thanks for inviting us.
Yes, I'm excited. When we said we were going to be back in the chair, it's sooner than I thought.
We didn't think it'd be a few weeks.
Exactly. But that's fine because I love when we come back because that means we have good news to share and news in general to share. So just to refer you guys back, Jeremy and Randi are the directors of curriculum and instruction in STEM. That's Jeremy. And then director of curricular instruction in humanities. Okay. For people who maybe did not watch last episode, can we just give a brief description of our background and what we do at the school?
Sure. So I previously was an English teacher at the high school, and then I was the English supervisor.
Okay.
And now I oversee essentially everything that happens in classrooms.
Okay.
In classes like social studies, English, world languages, art, music, those kinds of courses.
Awesome. All our favorites. And what about you, Jim?
Math happens to be a favorite of yours too.
You remember.
I started as a kindergarten teacher. I've taught fifth grade. At the middle school level, I became a supervisor of mathematics. And currently I'm a director of STEM. And so all of these subjects that Randi did not mention, they fall under me. Math, science, engineering, gifted and talented.
Yes, I'm sure.
That's why you see us together all the time.
Yes.
We're each other's halves.
Buddies. I love that. Okay, so last time we spoke, we focused on our time at a department's vision and work in curriculum and instruction. I know the third area of your department focuses a lot on assessment, and I believe that's why we're here today. Okay, so can you tell me about assessment in Union's elementary and middle schools?
Sure. So you're right. The last time we were here, we spoke about curriculum and instruction, which is 2/3 of what we do. And curriculum is developing curriculum systems and rewriting curriculum. Instruction is on how you teach. So that's something called pedagogy in education. And the last part is assessment. And really what assessment is just the collection of data.
Okay.
Right? And so teachers and staff and administrators collect data to inform you how well students are doing, how well their progress is. It's about their learning. And there's different ways that you can collect this data. There's different types of assessments. So the two that we most commonly see in classrooms are something called formative assessment and summative assessment. And the way I describe this to people is that pretend you're a chef in a kitchen and you're making soup, and you taste the soup and you say, oh boy, this needs a little more salt. So you kind of pour a little more salt in. And then a few minutes later, you taste it and you say, oh boy, this still needs more salt. And you pour a little more salt in it. That's similar to formative assessment. And then summative assessment is when you're done with the soup and you present the soup to Bobby Flay. And Bobby Flay tastes the soup and says, either chops you because it doesn't like the soup, or you make it to the next round. That's something called a summative assessment. And so in a classroom, formative assessments happen typically like at the end of a lesson. What a teacher might do in something called an exit ticket is they might say, okay, after I taught this lesson, how did you feel about it? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or did you just kind of get it? And based upon what the data the teacher gets back, they might decide to add more salt the next day. So they might decide to change what they're doing right in that moment based on the data they got back at the end of that lesson. However, a summative assessment is something that happens after you've taught all of this, after you've done all those formative assessments. It's at the end of the unit where you have like an end of unit test. So those are two common assessments that we give to students. And there's another one called a diagnostic assessment. There's a bunch of assessments.
You're taking me back to school.
And a diagnostic assessment is different from the first two. And what it does is it shows the strengths and weaknesses of students at that particular time. And in Union, we give diagnostic assessments, formative assessments, summative assessments. It's all a part of the assessment system. The diagnostic assessments we give 3 times a year.
Okay.
So we give one in the fall, around September when the students first come, because we're gathering data on the strengths and weaknesses of the students at that period of time. We give one in the one in the winter around this time, and then one again in the spring. At the elementary level, it's a program called iReady, which many families are familiar with. And at the middle school level, it's called iExcel. And we're able to look at growth over time with these diagnostics.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's just go back really quick. How long have we been doing this? This is what we just started, what we were talking about last time we were here. How long have we been implementing these?
So iReady has been in our district for a number of years, probably over 5.
Okay.
And it's a system, it's great because it not only gives us a diagnostic of the students' strengths and areas for growth, but it also recommends activities for students based on what they need.
Okay.
And then iExcel is relatively new. It's kind of like iReady, but it's just different for our middle school students. And they've been using that for, I believe, 2 years at this point.
Awesome. And now when we do these assessments and we gather this information, is it, oh my God, I lost the word. Is it anonymous, or do we know the true student's answer to the student? How do we go about that?
Yep. So everything is tied to our students. So we're able to log in and see a particular student's growth over years or over that year. We can also see it by class. We can see it by building, by grade. We can see it by demographic. We can see it in all different ways.
So we're definitely favoring both of these systems for the middle and the elementary because we can see the product of their growth and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we spoke about diagnostics. Can you use these diagnostics to see a student's growth over the school year?
Yep. So one of the things that we did, we just finished the second diagnostic, and one of our jobs and the jobs of our administrators is to look at the trends and look at where we are, especially in the middle of the year, because we still have time to add some more salt if we needed to. So we're really happy with the data that we saw from our second diagnostic. In K-2, we saw close to 30% of our students increase in being on or above grade level.
Okay.
So more of our students are performing at the grade level that they should be instead of being a little bit behind. All of our grades in K-8 saw some growth, whether that was in ELA or math. A lot of our ELA growth was in phonics and phonemic awareness and vocabulary, which is really key for that foundational reading development that we are targeting. And in math, a lot of the areas that we saw growth in were numbers and operations, which is just knowing your numbers and knowing how to do some basic number operations and mathematical operations, and also algebra and algebraic thinking. So those are really the foundational skills for our early math learners as well. So that was great that we saw growth in those areas.
And I love that you can break it down for each subject too and see where the strengths and everything are. You were going to say something.
Yeah. So I'm always encouraged to hear that there's growth in areas. And when I looked at the data and I saw this, I thought, wow, it's good data. It reminds me a bit of when I was in college, I played soccer. And we played this one game and we won 1-0. We didn't play particularly well though. And the next day the coach unpacked the game with us and we were all happy that we won and we advanced to the next round of the Big East. And I remember the coach said to us, I'm happy we won. And we also have to make sure that we're not sweeping under the rug some of the things we didn't do as well in. And it reminds me a bit of, looking at this data is when I look at it, I'm really happy to see all of this growth, particularly at these levels. And the other thing is we also have to make sure we're identifying things that also didn't go as well. And so that's part of our job too, is to look at what didn't grow as much. And then when we identify those, we meet with our district supervisors, with the building principals, and then we develop a plan for that to make sure that we're focusing on those areas so that when we take the next diagnostic, we see more growth in those particular areas. So that's all a part of the process, as well as looking at the results, identifying what went well, what didn't go as well, and then developing a plan forward for really both of those. Celebrating what went well, identifying what didn't, and then moving forward in that area.
I love that you brought that up because Randi, you touched on it a bit, but was there anything that you noticed in your analysis of the data that may have went extremely well or not as well as we'd hoped?
There were definitely some areas that that I think went really well. For example, like I said about K1 and 2, we've implemented a new reading program this year under Dr. Benequist's initiative of really focusing on early foundational literacy. So we were really happy to see the immense growth, especially, like I said, in phonemic awareness and phonics in students in that grade, because that's going to be really important for them. We also saw really big growth in our K-4 multilingual students. So our students who don't necessarily speak English at home or are still learning English in our schools, they had a lot of growth in their ELA responses as well. So that was great to see.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, just backtracking a little bit because I had the question, I didn't get to ask it. Was there a favorite between, formative assessment, and then the second one was summative. Is there a favorite between the two, or you get different things from both of them?
Yep. So in a assessment system, it's important to include all of these, right? And so you have to make sure you have formative assessments, because that tells you in the moment, do I need to change what I'm doing, or is what I'm doing working? And can I keep moving forward with what I'm doing? So that's really important. Think about this analogy with the soup. If I never taste the soup the whole time, I have no idea whether I'm adding things or taking them away, or how it tastes until I give it to Bobby Flay, right? A summative assessment is equally as important, because then I can gather data based on a period of time on how well students have done over that period of time. So both are, I would say, equally important in a comprehensive assessment system. The diagnostic, the one we're talking about today, is also important because it shows growth over time. It identifies areas that you might need to focus on. So I would say all three of these are important in a comprehensive system.
I completely agree. And I love that you use the soup analogy, because it really brings it in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh, wait, I guess I'm more summative assessment, because I taste everything at the end and I'm like, here, you try this. And I have someone else try. So I could see relating that back into the schools, and how, exactly how you said, how each part has its own importance, and how you assess the students and their progress. I love that analogy. I'm sticking with it. Okay, so there's been great progress made. We've recognized that. What are some things that you think have made that possible? I don't know who wants to tackle that.
Yeah, I can start with it. Well, first of all, we have to give kudos to the teachers. Definitely. They're the ones working day in and day out on the ground level with the students, with these formative and with these summative assessments. So, anytime we see this kind of growth, we always want to make sure we celebrate the teachers and the administrators that are, doing the work every day. The other piece, maybe from a curriculum department, is we've added instructional coaches this year. It's the first year we've had instructional coaches. And what a coach does is they support teachers. That's their main role, is to support teachers. And so
in all aspects, I'm assuming.
Yep, in all aspects. So at the middle school level, we added a math coach and a literacy coach. At the elementary level, we added 3 literacy coaches. And essentially, more so at the middle school level, what they do is they develop common assessments with the teachers. So they develop these common assessments. So no matter what school you're in, or what classroom you're in, they have these common assessments, okay? And after the common assessment is administered, the coach goes over all of the data with the teachers in something called a professional learning community, PLC. So it's where we sit and we meet and we pull up the data and we go over, all right, what went well, what didn't go well. And the coach provides remediation activities for students. So what didn't go well, we're identifying it right in the moment and we're remediating it right away. What that allows us to do are 3 things, right? Number 1, having a coach provide support to teachers, which is important, and it's provided on a daily basis. Number 2, we're providing support to students. So now we're identifying what students need help with, and we're able to provide that support. And number 3, what this allows us to do is to go back to our curriculum and make changes based on data. So we might say, based upon this assessment we gave, we really didn't have enough time to teach it. Okay. So we might decide we need an extra week in that particular unit. So we're able to go back to the curriculum and make a change based on the data and what everyone's talking about in their PLC. And I think those types of things are why we're seeing these increases in proficiency.
There's
there's other really great things that are happening based on the data that we're getting from these assessments. For example, in some of our schools, we're implementing an intervention period called WIN, What I Need. And it's designed for students to get exactly what they need in terms of remediation or intervention. So they are identified based on the skills that they need from these assessments. They are pulled from various classes for 6 weeks, and they're given targeted instruction. So they receive instruction just on what they need.
Okay.
And after those 6 weeks, we usually see a lot of growth in those areas because we're spending time really just teaching kids exactly what they need help in. The other thing that we've been able to do is we've been able to identify teachers that have certain expertise. So if you look at all of our 6th grade teachers at Burnett in English, they're all going to have different expertise. Some are really great at teaching theme. Some are really great at developing characters. Some are really great at teaching writing. And everyone has a different strength, just like our students. And what we're able to do is through the PLCs and the work with the instructional coaches, we're able to identify those areas of strength. And then we're able to, what we've been calling shuffle. So maybe one day out of the week, the students will shuffle rosters.
Okay.
So if I'm a student who really needs help with writing, and my teacher is usually Dr. Cohen, I'm going to instead go to a different teacher whose strength is in writing. And I'm going to receive instruction from that teacher for the day instead of Dr. Cohen because I need help with that. And other students who need help with what Dr. Cohen has expertise in are going to go to his class. So if you have 5 teachers, you can shuffle all the students of those teachers into the classes based on what they need. So teachers can teach to their expertise, as students receive instruction on what they need from a teacher who teaches it really well.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay, let's take it. That's amazing. Let's take it back a little bit. Life coaches, they can do life coaches. They could do one-on-one with the students, or this is something just that they administer.
So their primary work is with the teachers.
Okay.
Their primary work is with helping the teachers better look at their data, develop assessments, develop strategies to intervene when students need more assistance, develop really dynamic and engaging lessons. They're essentially a person in your classroom or in your PLC every day with you in your building that is like a second pair of eyes.
Gotcha.
Because when any of us, when we do something day in and day out, you become routine. You generally start a routine, and that routine is often very useful and very helpful. But it's also good to have someone else on the outside say, have you tried this? Did you try this? Definitely. I saw this in a different classroom. Maybe we can work on that.
Definitely.
And that's how we grow our staff. That's how we make everyone better. That's how we make sure that everyone gets what they need, not only our students, but also our teachers.
I love that. And then with WIN, who decides when the students shuffle? Is it on the student themselves to say, you know what, I'd rather partner with Dr. Cohen, or is it the teacher making a referral?
So right now what we're doing is we're identifying students. So we're saying these teachers have expertise, and the teachers are working in their PLC to create rosters based on that.
Okay.
There are other ways once that's good and we have that cemented and the students are used to it, you can expand it to where the students are told, well, these teachers have different expertise areas, and based on what you need and what you know of your data, because we really want to make sure that our students own their data and know what their strengths and areas of need are, then they can self-select where they go. But that's kind of like a phase 2 advanced shuffle.
Gotcha. I love it. First off, these terms, from the assessments to the shuffle to the one, I love all of these analogies that we're getting. Okay, so earlier we joked how numbers, people don't really like to hear numbers and they find it boring, but I really think the numbers are what is important for not only the teachers, not only the coaches, for you guys, but also the parents as well. So how can the parents, at home or with one-on-ones with their teachers, how could they be a part of it, and how could they know more about these assessments that are given?
I think there's 3 really great things that families can do at home.
Okay.
The first is to engage their students in iReady or iExcel at home.
Okay.
Those platforms, like I said, a lot of times they give recommendations to students on activities they could do that are completely digital and completely within the platform based on where the student is and what they need to learn next.
Right.
So they're completely adaptive. And they're available at all hours of the day, on the weekends, after school, all of that. So that's a great resource for our families. It's even great if you sit down with your student and look at the questions that they're being asked and maybe have conversation. Why did you answer that way? How would we answer this? I don't know how to answer this question. How would we do this? And walk through it with them. And then you start to see the questions that are being asked, and you can ask them at other times. Like if you're cooking with your student or you're doing other things, you can start to ask some of those similar kinds of questions to support their learning. The other thing that I think would be really helpful is taking advantage of some of the online tutoring platforms that we have in district.
Definitely.
So we have a lot of 24/7 free virtual tutoring. One is through Varsity Tutors and one is through Pear Deck Tutoring. They're all available. There's lots of information on our Instagram and our Facebook and our school district website about them. And they are free to all of our students, and it's one-on-one or group tutoring when a student needs it in the moment.
Is that with teachers? Is that with peers? Who's that with?
Yes, so they're tutoring companies that we've contracted with that provide certified teachers or people who are well-versed in those areas that provide support to our students.
Awesome.
And then the third way, I think, is something that we've put together in the curriculum and instruction department called ULearn. ULearn is a way for us to connect with the community and really help our community and our teachers and our students learn more about how to support students and teachers.
Okay.
So ULearn is a series of in-person or virtual kind of workshops. We have some coming up about the NJSLA ELA and the NJSLA math. But we also have something called ULearn On Demand, where they're short, less than 2-minute video clips about how to do some of the most common things online that you're looking for. How to log into iExcel, how to translate language in some of the Google services so that our multilingual families can read different things in different languages. How to get Google Classroom alerts so that families know when things are due or things like that. Really quick training videos for families. And that ULearn link is available on our district website as well.
I love that. You know, I can't say it enough. The amount of support that you guys provide, and when I say you guys, I mean the entire public education system in Union, is ridiculously admirable, because you guys provide the details that you do, from your diagnostics of multilingual families and what specific students need, from language arts to math to science. I love the support because it really goes to show that it does something and it does help. So taking it back in my day, only a couple of years ago, this wasn't there. This wasn't available to our students. So it was more of a figure it out on your own. And you guys have so many things, from the ULearn, everything from the tutoring online. You guys make it possible for our students to be able to thrive and achieve and progress. And kudos. I'm sorry. I think I'm just taking it back so much because I didn't have that. And I know students or grown adults didn't have that back in my day. So kudos again to you guys. I love it. I appreciate it. It's just amazing. Okay, so before we head off, is there any last minute messages that we wanted to say, or get contact information out there for parents maybe who's watching and didn't catch something that they'd want to?
Sure. I think the most important resource for parents to go visit if they missed anything or if they have any questions is our district website. On the front page of the district website, there's a link to ULearn. There's access to Jeremy and my email addresses. We're always happy to answer any questions that anyone has. But I think that website is going to be the most useful resource where you can find access to all of these platforms that we've been talking about.
Definitely. Oh my goodness. The third time you guys come back, we're going to be talking about acronyms and all this other stuff. I love it. So super informative about our assessments and everything that we have for the school. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. I might see you tomorrow. Who knows? Who knows?
I'll bring the salt.
Yes, and we'll make some soup. I absolutely love it. Jeremy, Randi, thank you again once more. Everyone at home, thank you for watching. Rewind it back, because this was so informational and I loved it. And I love having people sit down in the hot seat where we can find out more about what's going on in Union and especially our public education system. So once again, thank you guys. And everyone at home, thanks for watching. I'm your host, Edess Thomas, and I will catch you guys next time on another episode of Around the U. Take care, everyone.